I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Wednesday, November the 30th, brought to you in part by Vitalix. Vitalix employs a patented continuous flow cooking process that provides superior product quality and intake consistency. Your livestock will consume the same amount day in and day out. Get the blue tub, go to Vitalix.com. Tough enough to hang. I'm talking about your cow-calf producers. We're losing them like flies here. And which ones are going to be tough enough to hang? Some of them just can't afford it anymore. They're broke. They can't keep trying to keep this deal up with these high input costs and still not getting enough for their calves to make the deal work, and they've been trying it forever. They've got a lot of debt on what they do have, and they just got to get out. Some people are getting old. They've got to get out. The younger generation didn't want to stay on the farm or the place. They went and found them a job and making an easier living doing something else. And some of the guys have just given up hope of ever being able to make a living. They said, shit, I can just sell all this stuff and me and the wife can live somewhere better in our twilight years and even in midlife years, rather than just keep fighting this all the time. Now your big outfits, your big ranches that are likely just holding a lot of wealth in their land investment, they'll be able to keep hanging. Your hobby farmers that just love it, and they don't care whether it makes any money or not. They've got a little bit of acreage there, and they're going to run a few cows on it. They're going to keep their job in town. Wife is going to keep hers, and them and their buddies get together, every few months and work some calves or haul some to the sale barn or something. Those kind of people are going to be able to keep doing it. But those middle of the road, mid-sized outfits, how many are going to be tough enough to hang? It's going to be considerably less than there was last year. And last year was considerably less than the year before, and we just continue to keep whittling on them and whittling on them and whittling on them. We talked here a couple visits ago that our cattle slaughter is up 1.6% over a year ago, year to date. Our August, September, and October cattle slaughter was up 4.1% of the same period a year ago. We said that 82% of that increase was due to female slaughter, heifers and cows. Like I've been telling you here for the last several months, that we keep killing off more does than we do bucks, and that means that we're whittling on our overall numbers. You guys know that. We said that our female slaughter ratio has hit 50%. So half the cattle over the last annual average, a year's average there, half of them were females, whether it be cows or heifers, even dairy cows, but our dairy cow slaughter has been lighter than it was before. But we've hit 50% ratio. The last time that we hit 50% ratio female slaughter was in the mid-1970s. So I don't have to keep talking to tell you guys that cows are going to be really good property to have if you can feed them, if you've got a place to hold them. I know everybody's been through severe drought over the last 2 or 3 years at least, most of us in the last year. We saw huge cow kills and deep culls in the northern plains of South Dakota about a year and a half ago. Not this past summer, but the summer before, where they have a big sales out there, especially western South Dakota. They were having 5,000 weigh-up cows every week. Multiple sale barns were having that week in, week out, all through the summer there. We saw this past summer down in central Texas. We saw that the lines just going for over a mile long, bringing in cows, and nearly all of them going to slaughter there. And that's had a lot to do with our big female slaughter that we've seen. But we just keep calling on them and calling on them and calling on them. Talked to a friend up at Dickinson, North Dakota, at the sale barn up there. Said this week They got about 2,500 weigh-up cows at the sale barn in Dickinson, North Dakota. My goodness. The ones that aren't going to kill, he said most of them are leaving the country. So, you know, I mean, they're selling out everywhere. If there's any way you can hang on, you know, I think there's reason to believe that it might be worth it. But how can you tell somebody with these input costs, with the fuel as high as it is, with hay as high as it is, with grain as high as it is, and supplemental feeding, and just everything that you buy, you know, work boots, you know, coats, jackets, pickups, whatever you need, everything you've got to have for your operation is just, you know, maybe not exponentially, but significantly higher than it was before, and you're not getting paid enough more for your calves to offset that. And I do believe that these calf prices are going to continue to go up, but you know, our calf prices this week for lightweight calves aren't really any higher than they were 2 or 3 months ago or more. You know, you can get $2 a pound for a 500-pound steer, but you're not going to get significantly more than that in most places. And there's a lot more places, especially in the southeast, central Texas, Arkansas, southern Missouri, places like that, you're not going to get $2 a pound for a 500-pound steer. Well, most outfits figure they need $1,000 a calf. That's just on the steers that you can get $1,000 back, not the heifers. They're not even close to that. And we've been figuring that for the last several years, that you need $1,000 for a calf to make this thing kind of work. And you're not doing that, and now all of a sudden all your input costs are that much higher. It's really sad. We're starting to see a lot of dispersal type sales. We always see them this time of the year, late in the year. You get people that are wanting to spend some money. They want to defer that off to the next year. There's people that are wanting to get paid some money, and they're wanting to put that off too. But getting this time of the year, we see several places that's having some big dispersal sales. We haven't seen that many in the southern plains, but when we do see middle-aged bred cows in the southern plains, you know, 1,500, 1,600 will pretty much buy them. You know, maybe a little bit more than that if you have a big dispersal and it's a reputation deal. I was talking to a friend of mine in Mississippi, owns a couple of sale barns down there, and he said it was kind of sad this week that he had a customer bring in some pretty fancy bred Brangus heifers, the kind that they want down there. Of course, they weren't huge like the ones that they sell up in the Midwest, but you know, 900-pound bred heifers there, and the kind that people want. They're mostly black, but they got a ticket ear to them, just enough to withstand the heat. He said they couldn't get $1,200 a head out of them. You know, when's that going to pay off? And he said the sad part is, he said nobody else wanted in either. And we think that it has a lot to do with people not being able to get the money. These banks are not excited about doing that, about loaning money, big upfront money to buy cows with. They'd rather do something like a feeder type deal or a backgrounded deal when they can get you to hedge things and kind of guarantee you the price coming back. They don't want to get stuck into you for 20 or 30 years where, you know, you're not doing anything but barely paying the interest on the deal. But you know, it's kind of sad out there, and we've talked many times about how the younger generation would rather drive $1 million tractors, or they'd rather go to town and get a job than they would pull calves in the mud. You can't blame them. You know, everybody wants to be a cowboy until it's time to do cowboy shit, and the cowboy shit's not always that much fun. I think it's probably a little bit more fun now than it was whenever I was young and we were doing a lot of the cowboy shit, because we didn't have phones that had videos, and we didn't have social media where we could share all of it with all of our friends. We had to wait till later when we were drinking beer and we could tell the story. But now, within an hour of when it happens, the story's already out to the world. But I tell you what, it's pretty troubling times that we're in right now, and I'm not sure who's tough enough to hang, and I don't know if anybody is tough enough to get in and try to hang on. It's a sad situation right here. I told you this last Friday, like in Bowling Green, Missouri, we did see some big bred heifers bring up to $27.50. I talked to them there and I said, my gosh, they wouldn't have to go very far to get them cheaper than that. And they said, hey, these people made a lot of money row cropping. It seemed like the higher they got, the more they wanted them. And you don't see that other areas very much, but I tell you what, when you're diversified up there, you got your land paid for, you got old money and free corn, that just changes everything. But I'm not sure if you guys are getting interested in this World Cup soccer, or football, I guess most of the world calls it, but I don't know if you saw where Prince Salman from Saudi Arabia, after his team beat Argentina, he gifted each player a Rolls-Royce Phantom $465,000 vehicle. I think I'm going to start training for the World Cup here pretty good, but I don't know if you guys are getting any watch parties together. I had a bunch of buddies over and we were watching some World Cup matches there, and we thought we'd have a drinking game where you had to slam a beer every time somebody scored, but all my buddies got thirsty and went home. Let's talk about your board for Tuesday. December live cattle futures up a dime, big deal, but at least they were on the positive side. 150.267. February up 12 cents at 154.80. Your back months were all higher, but not much, from 12 to 27 cents, but at least on the positive side. Feeder cattle came back pretty good. January feeders up $1.12 on Tuesday at 178. March up 57 cents at 181.17. Your back months were down 37 on your furthest outs, and then closer up they were up as much as 45 cents. Chicago Board of Trade corn futures down 3 cents at 665 3/4. Beans for January up 2 1/4 cents at 14.59 1/2. Fat cattle trade, direct trade, was completely quiet. And we like to see that when we think we can get a little bit more out of this market this week. And I'm sure the packers are thinking that they've given enough up. But most of these guys that are selling fat cattle in a negotiated manner, they feel like there's a little bit more to get out there, and they have not started selling them on a direct basis yet. Did see our biggest fat cattle auction, Yankton, South Dakota, Stockman's Livestock there. They had 3,500 head of fat cattle. They didn't have 35 head or 350 head like a typical fat cattle auction in the Midwest or even in the Northern Plains. 3,500 head. Your market was $1 to $3 higher. Your majors were right in amongst those smaller regionals, scrapping and fighting, trying to get some cattle bought. The conventional cattle, just straight up cattle with no bells and whistles, bring from 155 1/2 to 161. The drug-free, non-implanted program type cattle were up to 164. So they can pay more for the cattle, guys. Don't worry about asking them too much. It's like feeling bad that you got too good a deal after buying a used car somewhere. Box beef cutout values were mixed. Choice cuts up 21 cents at 254.74. Selects down 271. We keep spreading that out now after we had tightened it back up last week, but selects at 225.82. Your slaughter running at a good pace again. They just continue to do this, guys. 256,000 up through the second day of the week, down just 1,000 from last week, and up 11,000 from the same week a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. The U.S. Cattlemen's Association is having their 15th annual meeting and Cattlemen's Forum. I'm going to be there. We've got several good speakers that are going to be there. I'm going to be acting as kind of a moderator to facilitate the discussion at some of the meetings there. They're going to be talking, the issues, policy, the things that they're trying to do, the things that some of the other outfits are trying to do to us. We've got a guy's going to talk about sustainable beef, the new packing plant in North Platte, Nebraska. Trey Wasserberger there. We've got some other interesting speakers being there. We're going to have a good time. We're not just going to stomp around a trade show. We're going to talk. We're going to visit. We're going to talk about the things that are really affecting the industry right now and affecting us, and we're going to have a good time too. So if you guys can make it, it's December 8th through the 10th, downtown Nashville, Doubletree Hotel there. Get online, U.S. Cattlemen's Association, get registered up and come to that meeting. We're going to have a good time, guys. Talk about your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index on DV auction late in the day on Tuesday sitting at 175.67. That was down $1.04 from Monday. So we gained a bunch of ground last week during the light receipts and the big impressive sales. Monday was pretty good, and now we're down $1.04 with a little bit of pressure because the board refuses to support the cash prices that we need and are justified for. I want to talk to you about Farmington Regional Stockyards in Farmington, Missouri. That's southeastern Missouri, just north of the Boot Hill there. They've got a real progressive outfit running that sale there. They're DV auction customers. They're good guys. They are running a really nice stockyard there. They've got some pre-vac sales that they schedule for, and they get a lot of cattle lined up for. They normally have one right after Thanksgiving, and that's usually the first week of December. This week they had a little bit more time, and they had more receipts than what they really wanted to gang up on 1 week, so they got 2 weeks of pre-vac sales at Farmington Regional Stockyards. On Wednesday, 30th here, they've got one. It's going to be 2,000 head at Farmington Regional Stockyards in Farmington, Missouri. It's their customer appreciation sale. Next Wednesday, they're going to have another likely 2,000. It's going to be their MFA Health Track special with a lot of pre-vac cattle in there included in that. On the 3rd of December, we're going to have a special cow sale with several dispersals, including one complete dispersal of 165 head of local cows there, top quality. On the 9th of December, they're going to have a Show Me Select Heifer sale, that replacement heifer program in accordance with the University of Missouri. I used to work with that a lot, and we inspected those heifers, and they did inspections for pelvic measurement, for health, for quality, for frame score, muscle score, just any kind of blemishes that they had on them. Really good for small producers that want to get started. But check out Farmington Regional Stockyards for all those sales. If you can't make it in person, get online, dvauction.com, Farmington Regional Stockyards. How about your big sales on Tuesday? Ozarks Regional Stockyard, West Plains, Missouri, 3,100 head through the ring. Another 874 head through their in-house video that they do with help from DV Auction. It was kind of sale you can have in extreme south central Missouri. Down at West Plains, got a lot of small producers down there. I talked to my buddy Dan Hill, I used to work with Missouri Department of Agriculture. He reports the market there. He said the average lot size was 4 head per draft on 3,100 head. Long sale. Said the biggest draft he'd seen all day was 31 head. But those buyers have to work now, get in there, and they can get some cattle that they really like, but they got to get in there and put those loads together. They're not going to have bows wrapped around them like they are a lot of places further up in the Midwest. But the market was still good. Calves $3 to $6 higher at West Plains. And one reason they had so many small deals is because they're holding a lot of those bigger deals and those more uniform bunches back for their Friday pre-vac special, which they don't have a lot of specials in West Plains, but they are having one this Friday It's going to be pre-vac special, have several thousand on hand. Really nice cattle, more uniform, larger bunches there like you guys want to buy. dvauction.com. Talk about some other sales on Tuesday. How about Denny Rezac Livestock Commission in St. Mary's, Kansas? Look at these loads and bigger of feeder steers, yearling feeder steers that they sold through St. Mary's on Tuesday. And really impressive. I got the averages for you. There was 336 head of 8-weight steers. They averaged 872, and the weighted average price on all of them was 178.75. Had 258 head of 9-weight feeder steers. That Rezac Livestock weighed 935 on the average, and the weighted average price was about $4 higher than last week on those 9-weight steers at 178.39. Talk about your Zoetis stick-out sale of the day. It was winter livestock in La Junta, Colorado. That's John Campbell. That's our old buddy that we used to enjoy listening to all the time. We don't hear from him very often anymore, but we still like him. But he had one of his big specials out there. And look at this automated market report through Cattle Market Central. And you see the impressive calf quotes there. How about 799 head of 5-weight steers in La Junta, Colorado? Average 549 with a weighted average price in eastern Colorado at 190.89 on all those 5 weights. That includes the onesie twosies and the smaller lots and the ones that aren't quite as pretty as the other ones. All of them averaged nearly 191. Very impressive. 830 head of the 6-weight steer calves averaged 650 with a weighted average price of 182.38. How about the heifers? 729 head of the 5-weight heifers averaged 549 with a weighted average price of 169.87. Give you some individual quotes. How about Beaver County Stockyards in Beaver, Oklahoma? 88 steers weighed 805 at 182.25. Big price for this far down in the Southern Plains, guys. How about Kimball Livestock Exchange in Kimball, South Dakota? They sold 119 steers, weighed 498, almost 500 pounds at 235.50. How about Bluegrass Stockyards, Lexington, Kentucky? They're going to sell you about 2 loads of big yearling feeder steers, and they're over 100 pounds bigger than your index average weight, and about $4 or $5 higher. How about 126 head of yearling feeder steers in Bluegrass Stockyards, Lexington, weighed 911 at 179.50 out east, guys. Wow. How about F&T Livestock Market in Palmyra, Missouri? Hey, they're another DV auction customer, have been forever with the Brownings and now with the new owners there. But Quest Fluster, my buddy there that auctioneers, he gave me the heads up on these and I looked them up. Look at these Charlie Kirby heifers, yearling heifers going to feed. 57 head of them weighed 916 at 169.50. But the most impressive quote that I saw on Tuesday, your Macrocin No BS top quote for the day, come out of Kingsville Livestock Auction in Kingsville, Missouri, just south and east of Kansas City there in that little burg of Kingsville. But they had some cattle in there that are really, really hard to describe. The cattle were green as gourds. They were cut in two, and they were running gant, guys, and black and plenty good enough. But I mean, they were just the running gears, guys. But professionally purchased, 122 head of steers in that kind of condition, weighed 841 and bring 190.10. That's your feeder flash for Wednesday.